Hello everyone, Jak Syn here on behalf of Fiend.com and Future Daze, and today it's another exciting episode of Artist Interviews. Today, I'm sitting with Jeanelle Mastema, suspensionist and performance artist. How are you doing today, Jeanelle?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, Jake.
Well, thank you for being here. I'm so glad that we could do this interview today. It's a nice day outside. Well, it's a little bit more in the evening time right now, but I'd say today is a pretty nice day. How's it going where you're at?
It's nice. The weather is gorgeous today, so I'm like, it's putting me in a good mood. It's a little dreary right now, and it's mellowing me out. It's not all hot and sunny like it was earlier. So it's a very nice evening in Echo Park.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. You know, it's like we have a nice little breeze. It's, you know, the sun. It would seem like a nice, perfect temperature today almost. I went outside a little bit earlier today and I was just kind of sitting outside in the back in between interviews, just kind of enjoying the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Just the little things, the little nuances, just going outside, experiencing nature just a little bit, going for walks and enjoying the sun. Even though we can't do as many things as we could before, we can still enjoy these little things.
Oh, absolutely. I'm working from home now, so it's just like just sitting by the window and hearing the birds and things like that is very soothing, you know. And it's a nice change from, you know, being stuck in traffic and driving to an office without any windows. So it's nice.
And it's pretty nice because you get the time to kind of like recharge your batteries, look inward, you know what I mean? Find out what's really important, get back to the basics. While, of course, you're working at home, but getting that little bit of time to yourself where you kind of think, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. The things that are really important are really standing out these days, for sure. I hope folks are paying attention to that.
Exactly. So everybody out there, be sure to pay attention to those little things here because those are what's important. So today we're going to ask you a couple of questions and see where it goes from here. Are you ready to get into it?
I'm ready.
What are 3 of your most memorable moments from your career as a suspension performer and performance artist?
Well, definitely my first performance ever. I didn't suspend, but I did perform with hooks in my body, and that was with Aesthetic Meat Front. And I was 24, and I had met Louise Fleischhauer actually at Release the Bats in Long Beach. And we developed a beautiful friendship. And about maybe a year later, and I was about 24, he was performing at a festival in Poland, a castle, it was a party called Castle Party. And I decided to use my financial aid money from college and say, fuck it, and go. And I told him, and he said, would you want to be in the show? And I was like, fuck yes. So arrive in this tiny town in Poland. I'd never even flown on an airplane ever, never traveled, nothing. So I went alone, went to Poland and did my first hook performance. I had hooks like just everywhere and this amazing outfit that he created. I was a little baby and it was my first time performing in front of a large audience. And it was just the most incredible experience to be in this like ancient historic castle in front of about, I think it was 800 people or so, topless. There's fire and pyro going off and folks suspending and pouring blood on themselves. And it was just so cathartic. And I never thought that I would have the courage to do anything like that. But I got really lucky in meeting Louise and finding someone whose art really spoke to me. So that's the first one. And then it's so hard to choose because I've had so many wild experiences. Suspension has taken me all over the world and put me in these realms that are just unbelievable and stunning and everything that I love about this art form. Another amazing experience was in Japan for this festival called Sadistic Circus, which is just the craziest festival that ranges from like Power Ranger fight performances to geishas being tied up in like shibari and singing opera to like vomit shows, and then we headlined. So it was amazing to headline this most insane festival in Japan. That was another one. And gosh, it's so hard to choose. Another one definitely would be in Texas. Oh, what year was this? This was around 2014, I believe. It was in Texas. I was able to perform on stage with the father of the modern primitive movement. His name is Fakir Musafar. And he really tapped into the ancient rituals that involved hooks in the flesh and things like that. So I was able to perform in a large performance that starred Fakir Musafar, and I performed by suspending in what we call the lotus position. So like when they say you're sitting Indian style, so I was pretty much in that position. And they pulled me up and I symbolized a giant lotus. And lotus is actually a very inspiring and symbolic to me. I have like tattoo of big lotuses on my back. So that was really meaningful and really beautiful. And I felt incredibly fortunate to share the stage with Fakir and play that role.
Those are some pretty memorable moments right there. Being 24, you know what I mean? And then deciding, hey, I'm just going to say, fuck it. I'm going to go over there and do this. I'm going to go over there and see what this is all about. And I'm going to be part of this. You know, it's like, as artists or people who create, it's like sometimes it's like opportunities present themselves in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of go like, you know, hey, I don't know, is this the right thing? Is this the wrong thing? I'm not sure. But then something in the back of your head, in the back of your mind goes, this is the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
This right here is the right thing. Even though it might not seem like the right thing right now, because it may be a daunting feat in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But once you just kind of let go and just embrace it and ride the wave,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to take you to some amazing places. So that's really awesome. You got to go over there and experience that for the first time, and look at where it's taken you since then. Yeah. You know, like when you were talking about your experience in Japan, like going over there, I'm sure that festival was amazing. I mean, you started mentioning Power Ranger fights, you know, and then shibari, you know, and the geisha performers. Like that to me was probably be just one of the out there events that I'm sure some people probably would kind of like go, oh, I can't believe that. But it's performance art. It's performers showcasing what they want with the world, showcasing what they love and what inspires them with the world, you know. And that's, I think that rings true with everybody. Anybody who wants to create something, like bringing that to the forefront, you know, it doesn't matter how crazy it is, it's
Mm-hmm.
still art, and it can be beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's funny how life works when you start following like the things that truly make you feel a sense of bliss, because I went to my first Aesthetic Meatfront show and I nearly had a fit. I was like, holy fuck, this is what I've been looking for so long. And I was just about losing hope at that time. I'm like, I'm never gonna find anyone that I can relate to on this level, on the things that I think are beautiful and provocative and impactful to people's imaginations on a really intense level. And I went to my first AMF show and I was like, I found this portal to this world that I've been looking for so long. And I just kept chasing it. And when you're on the right path, a lot of synchronicity starts happening and a lot of beautiful, and it's like it's signs from life, the universe, whatever you want to call it, that you're going in the right direction, because it's been going on for the last 10 years for me since day one. And just meeting the right people, and you can feel it. You can feel that you're in the right place and that you're like, I guess, blessed is the word in a way. Like you just, like you are plopped in the right spot and you're where you belong. And when you feel that way and you keep going with it and you keep following that flow, the doors keep swinging open, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a really interesting thing when you're on the right path.
If you just open yourself up to a world of possibility, just open yourself up to the universe, and just accept that, like, hey, things are working in the background, even though we may not know that they are. Because we go through life, our daily routine, constantly like plugging away at these things, you know, to help us, you know, propel us forward, or working for something, or working towards goals. But sometimes we don't really kind of open ourselves up to the big picture in the background. We kind of go like, you know, I don't know if this will happen for me. But if you just open yourself up and put yourself in certain positions that could eventually become beneficial to you in some way to help propel you forward, do it. Everybody out there, if you are ever wondering about certain things in your life and wondering if something's a good decision or not, just put yourself out there, because you really will go some amazing places, just like Jeanelle here.
Absolutely. And, you know, some folks are at a loss of how to start doing that, but it's like, think about what really makes you happy, what's beautiful to you, and what you might want to contribute to that world and find it. Like, it's hard, but you can find community, go to art shows, go to, if it's music, go to concerts and talk to people and meet people. And if you just surround yourself around what makes you really happy and what you think is really beautiful and important, doors will open up. It's amazing. Even it's just by meeting that one right person, it changes everything for the better.
Exactly. And that could be for anything out there, anybody, anything out there.
Yeah.
Chance meetings. Even though you might think it's a chance meeting, it could be fate knocking on your door. What would you say is your favorite event that you've been a part of?
It's another hard one. I have a lot of favorites, but I really enjoy the events in which we address things going on in the world or with women. I've performed with female performance troupes, and I think that's a really powerful thing to show folks. And I've also done performances that were like art activism, like the Nestle Death Curse at Lethal Amounts. That was a big collaboration with Aesthetic Meat Front and Reverend Stephen Johnson Leba, the Coyote Church, which I'm a member of, which is the Church of Art and trickster approaches to life and how we respond to the things going on around us. And that was the Nestle Death Curse, and it was a visual expression of how we feel these corporations are treating the earth and humanity. And I got to play the role of Gaia, in which I was crucified to the wall. I was covered in earth and just kind of representing a suffering planet, Mother Earth. And I was there crucified the entire night while all of these performers were doing these really intense actions, spoken word, a lot of energy expression through hooks, and just the visuals were just very intense. And we have a lot of audience participation, which is really important. And you see that, and my view was the audience. I was static, so I got to just kind of watch all of this happening around me, and to watch the effect that has on folks and the way it transforms them from how they walk in to how they leave. I think that's really powerful, and that happens a lot in the performances I'm involved in. The grand intention is always to affect folks completely, like totally different from the moment they walk in to the moment they leave, that their mind is just a flurry of new thoughts and emotions, and their imaginations hopefully are going wild. And that really, I think, is very meaningful and productive for folks to be more open-minded and think about these things a little bit deeper. And also just to take away, look at what art can do. Look at how these folks are expressing themselves. It's so intense, and it's to some, it's very beautiful. And I really hope that, like the Nestle Death Curse, really made an impact towards that. And there was changes, things happened, and we like to think that we had some part in influencing that in the sense of energy and the way folks were projecting their energy around that.
And energy has a lot to do with it. It's like when you are putting yourself in these positions and you are doing this art form for everybody to see and experience, you're emitting that energy out into the room, into the world. You know what I mean? Yes, sure, to some people it may be, shocking, or it may be, going against the grain, things that they have, dare I say, been programmed with since birth. But when you show this to them, it's like you are putting that statement out in the world, but you are also showing that energy to the world as well. And in a way, it's affecting them. Mm-hmm. It could be positive, it could be negative, it doesn't matter. But it's still that energy going out there. And however they perceive it, yes, it's up to them. But they are walking away with that vision. They are seeing that and they are accepting it one way or another. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm sure in that position, when you were crucified to the wall and seeing that room, watching the expressions, like seeing everybody's way that they were interpreting that, I'm sure that was just a amazing moment for you, being able to see everybody in there, being able to observe their way they're perceiving this happening. Because a lot of the time when you're performing, Doesn't matter how you're performing.
Mhm.
You're usually just into what you're doing, you know. And in your case, I'm sure a lot of the time when you are performing, you're like in your mindset, you know, preparing yourself, being in that moment, you know, making sure that everything's happening the right way. And a lot of the time we don't get to observe a lot of the other stuff going on around us. So I'm sure for you that was probably an amazing moment to see everything happening like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a side that folks don't see. You know, backstage preparation. You know, we can be really silly, but you know, there's a lot of deep internal things that we're processing prior to ritual performance. That's so heavy. So and it's it varies individual to individual. So yes, we have a message, a goal, but we also bring ourselves, our deepest selves into it, and there's a lot of healing there. You know, there's healing with the message that we're sending out, but also there's a lot going on within each and every one of us. And you know how they say you can't change the world until you change yourself. So that's like a big goal in art, you know, is affecting folks and helping folks change a little bit, and yourself as well. And that's how you can change the world in a way. And that goes with all art and artists.
Exactly, because some of the best art and some of the best things that have been created in human history are because people thought outside of the box and went against the grain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
shaking things up.
Yeah. And you know, like some folks like to call it shock art, and that's fine. I actually don't mind that at all. Like you know, a lot of us grew up with loving shock art and shock artists and musicians. It's a lot of fun. It's awesome. It's edgy. It's just very pleasing to the eye. It's exciting, and that's fine. Some folks kind of don't like that term, but I don't mind it at all. And I would hope that it is shocking your system.
Yeah, I mean, it is shocking your system in a way. You know, it's like, it was funny because I was watching this documentary on Shudder the other day. I was watching the documentary of Tom Savini, and he was talking about his life. And you know, yet at his core, he is you know, he's an artist, you know, but he's also he's a family man. You know what I mean? He was, you know, he's a very like down to earth person. But everything that he's done in his career, in his life, you know, it's like creature effects and like the makeup effects and just bringing these like creations to life. A lot of people go, wow, that's really shocking, that's really scary, like that's really, why would you even do something like that? That's you know. But if it wasn't for Tom Savini, you know what I mean, and his career in creating that stuff, you wouldn't have the amazing world of horror that we have today, inspired, you know, by his effects and the films that he's worked on and stuff like that. You wouldn't have that today. So it in order to create change in the world, sometimes you have to shock people. Sometimes you have to change things up, because that's how amazing things are made.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I love Tom Savini. I love that you
Oh
brought
yeah, yay for Tom Savini.
He's rad. I love his work. Funny guy.
You know, he to me, I'm telling you, he's one of the he is like one of the greats up there. You know what I mean? One of the greats out there. And I'm so glad that I was exposed to his stuff at a young age, because it made me the man I am today. And I think I'm a pretty well-adjusted human being, if I say so myself, you know?
I think so. But yeah, I saw him at Monster Palooza, and I was like, "Oh my God, stop Savini!" And I just like, "Hi," and he was just like, "What's up?" And I was like, "Oh my God, he's really buff now."
Oh yeah. He takes good care of himself. I mean, what can you expect? You know, makeup artist, stunt man, writer, director, theater guy. I mean, you know, all that stuff. So
Yeah.
one day, Tom, if you ever see this interview, one day, Tom, I'm going to meet you in person and tell you how amazing I think you are. Sooner rather than later.
Very cool.
What was the drive behind getting you into becoming a suspension performer?
Ooh. Well, I don't have the most unusual story. I was about, I don't know, like 11 or 12, and saw an episode of Ripley's Believe It or Not. That I loved that show. And I'd already been really into like body piercing, like the whole 90s body piercing scene just wowed me. And I'm like, when I grow up, I'm going to get everything pierced. And but there was an episode where they featured a human mobile, and it was folks on hooks, multiple suspensions kind of spinning in this human mobile. And I was blown away. I was like, wow, I want to do that one day. I need to, I will. And, you know, the years go by, and sure, it's a thought in the back of your head. And I just kept loving that kind of thing, and body modification and all that was always fascinating. And then that fateful night at Release the Bats in Long Beach, I was introduced to two of the biggest body modification artists in the country, that being Steve Joyner and Louise Fleischhauer. And like the rest is history, and I couldn't believe it. And now it's like, I know the person who created that human mobile in that Ripley's episode now.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's so funny how, yeah, it's a very tight-knit community, and that community has just saved my life. It's wonderful, and we've shared so many experiences together. There's actual suspension conventions, not as much anymore, but there was conventions, multiple conventions every year all over the world, and I began attending those, and they have classes, and it ended up being such a rich community, and highly focused on education and safety. So I got, I don't know if luck is the word, but I don't know. When I was a kid, I just knew something.
I mean, you kind of know at an early age. I think some people kind of take that for granted sometimes. It's like, if you see something and it clicks with you immediately, like, don't let it go. Don't let it fly away, because kind of if you stick with that, you know, it'll lead you down a path. It will lead you down a path towards where you need to be. You know, with suspension performing, I think, you know, a lot of people have these misconceptions about it, like, you know, oh, it's just a bunch of people getting hooks put in their body and they're getting thrown up in the air. You know, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people have those misconceptions, but it's a lot more than that, isn't it?
Absolutely. From really nurturing and loving preparation, interviews with folks that are doing their first suspensions, because it's such a sensitive thing. And yeah, we are looked at like daredevils and masochists and all of that. And that, of course, that's an aspect, sure, but it's a lot more involved than that. We really take care of the people that we're putting on hooks, and we really try to give people the best experience they can have, because you don't know what they're going through, because suspension brings out so much of what's going on within you that we have to treat it very delicately. And, you know, everything is up to protocol with being sterile, and like it's true, but we're cleaner than most doctors' offices. It's like we have super sterile areas. There's a lot of work that goes into suspension, and a lot of love, and, you know, bedside manner. We're very careful of how we treat every individual. We treat them very delicately, because it is a very delicate practice. And yeah, you know, a lot of us are really nutty, and we do it for fun, and we have crazy wild times. And for some people it's very sexual, and for some it's very spiritual, and for like some, they just have so much fun doing it that they just do it because it's such a thrill, you know. But no matter what, even if you are just a thrill seeker, it's still gonna hit you to your core and make you think about things, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's kind of that thing where it's like, I would imagine when you're involved in it, you're doing it. You know, it's like the thrill of it's like kind of like a roller coaster. It's, you know, it's like, you know, you're on this roller coaster. You know that all the safety precautions are there, but yet you still have this fear of, like, what if something happens?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's that thrill, but it's done safely. And I think bringing attention to that in this day and age, I think with the inception of the internet and, you know, social media, it's like people have become more understanding, and it's opened up a whole world of possibilities to meet more like-minded individuals as well, you know, over the years. I'm sure you've seen it change a lot since you began, right? Like, it's kind of, you know, progressed even more so than it has when you started, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it was such an obscure thing in the 90s. And then, you know, when I got into it, it was, I mean, just, I could see it just from being a kid to like it being such a taboo thing. And you only saw it on shows called Taboo and things like that. But once I entered the community, it's so much bigger than you'd ever imagine, especially when you go to suspension conventions and there's hundreds of people there from all over the world, you know, gathering to get educated and have new experiences and perform in front of each other. You know, like and then you have things happen like Dave Navarro joining one of my troops, and he's, suspending on his TV show. My friends helped with that too. It's really wild, and it's gotten a lot more mainstream. You see it in music videos now. I've done it like for the Three Teeth video. Marilyn Manson has a suspension in his video. There's at least a couple dozen videos, and yeah, it's gotten a lot of popularity, and I get a lot of messages from folks I've known for years that I would never think would want to try it. And maybe they see my work or whatever, but they're coming to me saying, hey, I really want to try this. And I think it's very exciting. And when I get to talk to people about what it's really like, I think it really surprises them, because some of them are still thinking that it's just like you have to be tough and hardcore to do it, but it's not about that at all. It's a much more spiritual thing.
So for you, I mean, what's the mindset like for you? Like when you go into doing this, like, do you have to mentally prepare yourself, or do you just have this kind of thing where it just comes naturally to you?
Definitely a lot of thought, of course. The longer I've been involved in it, I've kind of followed certain things that I've learned through like studying magic and things like that, what people do in preparation for intense ritual. So at first it was just pure excitement, like what experience am I going to have, and just open to it and excited, which I still feel every single time. But now that I'm older and experienced, like I like to experiment with taking really good care of myself and kind of abstaining from things that might impact my energy. I try not to drink any alcohol, have too much meat, like really basic, like, sleep well, and deprive myself of orgasms for at least 5 days prior, because that actually does help you build a lot of mojo like for the experience. So I try to focus on like maybe a goal or something that I need to direct more strength towards, anything I might be struggling with. And because suspension has this way, well, obviously it makes you feel so much stronger after you do it. Like a lot of self-denial or, self-down talk or all of that, like kind of gets a little bit healed after suspension. So I try to like go in with a personal intention, and then also the intention of whatever it is I'm doing, if it's a performance with a certain theme or a private suspension where I just need to get some shit out, or even just a rehearsal suspension, because we do that. Like our rehearsals do consist of the real actual suspension. So it's really, it's a lot of work. But even with that, even when we're just having fun, like I always try to go in trying to face something about whatever is going on with me.
Yeah. And I'm sure in these, in suspension, it's like sometimes it could be, or maybe all the time, I'm not sure, but I'm sure it's like a very meditative experience too. It's like, I know I've never experienced it. I mean, the most that I've ever done has been, acupuncture, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for that, it was like a very deeply meditative, and in some ways for me, very spiritual, a lot of people out there don't know this, but I suffer from pain in my face. And a lot of people have diagnosed it as trigeminal neuralgia. I suffer with this in my face. Not a lot of people know that. And I've suffered with it since I was 12 years old. So, yeah, not a lot of people know that about me. But it comes and it goes. The pain is very intense, and then it subsides. And I've struggled with this for a very long time. But I did know that when I started taking care of myself better, when I ditched the meat, ditched the dairy and all that kind of stuff, and when I did some acupuncture, but I started doing some of that acupuncture before I started doing the other stuff. But once I ditched the other things, I started to notice that things became more manageable. I understand, like when you have to prepare yourself for these things that you do, I'm sure that when you take care of yourself, taking care of your body has a lot to do with it. Has a lot, it helps a lot for you, because you can focus your mind, you can focus your energy where it needs to be, and you feel a little bit more centered in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a beautiful way to put it. And that's really interesting that you have that. I've known someone with that, and that's a really intense thing. Such a rare thing.
Yeah, It affects a small amount of people, you know what I mean? It doesn't affect like large amounts of people, but I always thought to myself, I would have these bouts of like really intense pain, and I would go, I don't know what I'm, I don't know how I'm going to control this. It's killing me, you know what I mean? But then I would have these areas where there would be absolutely no pain at all. But then I also discovered that when I did go vegan and I did take out all the animal byproducts and everything in my life, it was just like become manageable. I can talk. I can, I mean, granted, every once in a while I'll have to stretch my face out or, stuff like that, or deal with the nerve stuff, but it's few and far between. It becomes manageable.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of it has to do with, your diet and the way that you push out stress, in a
Yeah.
lot of ways that you deal with certain things. I
Yeah.
think that has a lot to factor into it too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Certain times of the year are a little bit worse than others, but hey, if
Yeah.
I've been dealing with this thing for, God, since I'm
Little.
12, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
here I am 34, do the math, 22 years here. It's
Um,
like,
That's
it's,
amazing. Yeah. So yeah, no, I feel like we can relate on that sense. Like you know what it's like to deal with
yeah,
meditating through the pain. You
yeah,
know, that's
just trying to find your center.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Fakir Musafar, he said something about pain where he doesn't call it pain; he calls it intense physical sensation.
Mhm.
And it's all about perspective. Sometimes, if you put it that way, it makes it a lot more like, okay, you put it that way, it's not such a scary word. It's just something I have to manage or learn how to manage.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's really fascinating to me.
Well, thank you for sharing what you've been sharing with me as well, because I feel like in that way, in that respect, it's like it's in certain ways it's kind of similar but different in a way, so
Absolutely.
but we're all on a journey. We're all human beings. We're all on a journey. Everything that we experience, whether it's good, bad, doesn't matter. It's all in the way that we handle things and how we get how we get back up from when we get knocked down or come back from pain in a way.
Absolutely. And it really shapes you as a person when you have to learn how to deal with those things. And you're such a sweet person. I can just see how that could even make you an even better person in a way, right?
Well, I I try. I try.
You're
But
a good
thank you for that.
guy.
Thank you.
That's why I was excited that it was you that asked to interview me. I was
Oh,
like, it's Jake, cool. I'm comfortable with you.
thank you. What are you looking forward to accomplishing the most moving forward?
I've been thinking about that a lot. Because I guess every artist faces that feeling of being repetitive or formulaic when you write your pieces or whatever. And I was feeling like that a little bit at the end of the year last year. And I'm like, okay, this year I want to focus on changing things up. And you of course you want to be more innovative, but you want to stay true to your beliefs and the way that you express yourself. So I'm just kind of sitting with that, and this time kind of allows that to kind of sit down and really try to think about like who I am. I work on so many collaborations. Most of what I've done has been collaborative work. But I do have my own project called Virgo Rising, where I have complete control. I write the pieces, I bring in the musicians, um, and just writing the movements and everything. And I really want to challenge myself to do something different. I'm just trying to find what that is right now. I have been writing, thank goodness. So it has been hard, with everything going on, but I'm kind of on, I think that's my path this year, is just kind of figuring out what's next and working on myself and getting more in touch with myself, to really pull that out of me. But I hope to write more Virgo Rising shows. I feel like that's when I really pull my innermost self out, is with that project, because it is totally rawly 100% myself, and it comes from deep within my psyche. So I had a show booked in November, so I've been writing for that, and it just takes that kick in the ass that for someone to want me to perform a Virgo Rising show. And uh, yeah, I've just been trying to figure out what I'm gonna do for the next one, and that's really where I pull out a lot of really deep stuff for myself. So I'm looking forward to when I can perform Virgo Rising, and really that's where I will show you. That's where I will show like the world like how I'm different, I guess you can say. It's something I've been thinking about a lot. What is the goal? What's next? But it's just being innovative and really staying true and morphing things into a different direction, exploring new territory and concepts and things like that, and different ways to express them. Because I like to be very visceral, uh, very surreal, and create these worlds just for 30 minutes to show you this world that's in the back of my mind. And I just want to continue pushing myself to keep pulling that out, because it can be hard, you know. But that's what I hope to do. Maybe focus a little more on some Virgo rising stuff.
Right there, you know what I mean? That is your creativity wanting to come out. That is your little piece that you want to share with the universe, to share with everybody out there. It's a nice goal. It's a great goal. And I think as artists and as people who create, it's up to us to be innovative. It's up to us to do out of the box thinking, like showcase what we have inside. Doesn't matter if it's, you know, a little bit different or if it's off the beaten path just a little bit. It's still creativity, no matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I would love to see that. I would love to see more of that come in the future. I know rather sooner rather than later, because with everything happening right now, entertainment and, you know, artistry, even though it's kind of taken a little bit of a back burner right now because, you know, public health and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when this engine starts revving up again and we are back into full swing, we are going to see some amazing stuff happening. We're going to be seeing some amazing creativity coming to the forefront, including what you're working on as well.
Thank you. And no, that is something that really excites me. I mean, with everything going on, I'm sure creatives are just brewing like crazy. And I am really excited to see what comes out of this, because I think people are going to be really eager to be more raw than ever and just have a big fire lit under them. And I'm really excited to see that. I'm really, really excited to see what next year, or, you know, when it's safe, what it brings. But you already see it. You know, you see folks posting amazing art that they've been inspired to create. Like they feel like now's the time, they're boiling over, and it's amazing to see. So yeah, I agree, and I'm excited for that too.
You're right. You're right. It is an amazing time right now because, I mean, even though with everything happening in the world, it is, you know, it's tragic.
Yeah.
Everybody who's been affected by this, everybody out there, if you've been affected by this or touched by this in some way, you know, you were strong, okay? And, you know, you have support from the people around you. You're not alone. You know what I mean? If any of you are suffering from feelings of depression or feeling down in this world right now because things have changed so much that you're having trouble dealing with it, know that people are out there and that people love you and that you can create, that you have two hands. We as human beings have been known to create amazing things. And if you focus your energy and you channel your energy into that positive stuff, it's going to be amazing. And I'm looking forward to everything you guys have, you know, everything everybody out there is creating.
Yeah, you too. I can't wait to see the next show.
Oh, I know, huh? Me too. Can't wait for that. Sooner rather than later. I mean, I've had like a, you know, promoters trying to get in touch with me about doing stuff. I've had other artists do these artist interviews, like, you know, wanting to work with me out here and booking shows and putting things together. And I'm like, yeah, we can do that, but we'll have to shelve that until it's safe to do so, you know. So, but as long as we're having these conversations and we're still talking and we're still, you know, planning things, like that's fine. I mean, we'll plan as long as we have to plan until things are safe to do again, you know.
Absolutely.
What positive message would you give your fans out there?
I would say just be true to yourself and pay attention and never feel like you can't do something that you want to do creatively. Like if you have this burning desire that keeps haunting you, you need to embrace that and and add some fuel to it because it's begging you to. And beautiful, magical things happen when you allow yourself to put love into what you want to see in the world. You know, find community, go to art shows, support art. You know, it's hard for some of us to socialize, but if you can just go to these places, these gatherings where there's like-minded people, even just once in a while, like there's possibility for you to be further inspired by seeing other folks do it, or just by meeting the right people that are going to encourage you or that you have things in common with, and just keep paying attention. Write your ideas down. You know, whatever supplies that you need for it, like start picking them up and start just forming ideas. And sooner or later, you'll if you keep with it, you will build the momentum to create something that you find really beautiful, and it's so cathartic and healing for you. Like, don't be scared. If you think that you're just too weird for this world, I promise you, we need that. You know, don't be frightened to be too weird or too anything, because you're human and every perspective is important, and every creative idea is a magical thought, and you never know who you're going to touch when you put that out there. So when we heal ourselves, we heal others, and art is a beautiful way to do it.
Wise words right there from Jeanelle Mastema right there. Everybody, take those words in, listen to those words. If you put yourself out there and you embrace those opportunities, great things will happen. If you open up to those possibilities, great things will happen. If you work hard at those things, great things will happen. And if you are afraid, that's probably an indicator right there that it's probably the right thing to do if you're afraid. For everybody out there, if you're feeling afraid about something, embrace that fear, ride with that fear, ride the wave for as long as you can, grab onto it and don't let go, because you will make amazing things happen for you and the people around you. So thank you so much, Jeanelle, for taking this time to do this interview today. Thank you to everybody out there who took the time to tune in and watch us have this conversation. If you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our Fiend YouTube channel, as we have many more awesome artist interviews on the way, just like this one. To everybody out there, dream it, build it, let it grow. Thank you so much, Jeanelle, and I look forward to seeing you sooner rather than later.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was a real pleasure. And this is coming from a very shy weirdo. So if I can, you know, again, conquer your fears, because beautiful things happen when you do.